Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very special episode of 90. Before we get into the show, I just wanted to share an update on my case against Lionsgate stars Katori Hall and P Valley. As many of you are aware, I have been in this case for probably about 5 years now. Not probably, I have been in this case since 2020. And I've learned a lot in the process. Tonight's update is a little heartbreaking, but at the same time, I hope that it encourages anybody out there who is fighting for their intellectual property rights, anybody out there who is fighting to be heard as a creative, anybody who believes in the process of due process and the fact that everyone, no matter who you are, deserves a chance to hear all of their evidence heard. Now, my case is still pending before the Supreme Court of the United States. However, I have heard back, or the court has heard back, from Lionsgate and Katori Hall's attorney, which are two separate entities, and both have made the decision to waive their right to respond to my writ of certiorari. Now, typically what that signals is that they're not taking the petition seriously, and they don't think that the court should take it seriously either. And as I said, when I pursued this, I knew that my chances were literally a microscopic snowball's chance in hell. However, I believe that when you believe in something, you do not give up. You do not quit, no matter how the odds are stacked against you. You keep going. That is something I promised my sister. That is something that I promised all of you, myself, my family, my grandson, and that is something I promise to all creatives. I am going to continue to stand. I'm going to continue to fight. But if I'm totally honest with you, after hearing the dissent from Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, I just really had to come face to face with the harsh reality that my chances became even slimmer. Now, I've always believed that the court was a place where we could go and ask for help, ask for protection for our creative properties. I've invested years of blood, sweat, and tears and creative energy into this business, the business we see falling apart on television every single day. I am hopeful that my journey, that my fight, that my rants, that my constant back and forth in social media has enlightened some of you to some of the challenges that I faced and some of the challenges that you may have to face. It's disappointing to feel like underfunded plaintiffs will never stand a chance when it comes to well-funded billionaire corporate interests. But I've always felt like this battle was next to impossible. I detail a lot of it in my book, Nicci versus Goliath. It is a journey that I don't wish on any underfunded individual. I found out today that I lost my appeal of the almost $1 million in legal fees that the judge in California granted to the defendants that are a billion-dollar corporation. The judge has basically said that my case was frivolous, did not belong in his courtroom, and it is officially dismissed. Now, to be completely honest with you all, I did have an opportunity to appeal the decision and file a brief in opposition. But after losing and losing and losing and losing at every turn, no matter how good I felt my evidence was, no matter how good my lawyers felt my evidence was, no matter how much you, the public, the average juror, thought that my evidence was, the court completely disagreed. And at some point, you have to stop fighting and you have to just go with the flow. You have to let go and you have to let God. And I've been debating about when I was going to release all of this, when I was going to finally let it go, when I was going to finally just step away from the stress and the angst and the disappointment of what has happened to me in this legal system. And I believe that the dissent that Justice Jackson wrote, as disappointing for many creatives as it may sound and seem, is my signal that I've done everything there is for me to do. The fact that the respondents in my case didn't even feel the need to respond. The fact that it is already very difficult with this added just kind of confirms. It's time to go into 55, releasing the trauma, the 5-year trauma of this case against P-Valley. When I started this case, I was 50 years old. In just a couple weeks, which will be a few days before the show debuted. It debuted July 13th. My birthday was July 8th. My anniversary is July 10th. And every year around this time for the past 5 years, I've gotten really disappointing news. So I made a decision that instead of allowing myself to be disappointed, because I know that chances are I will not have an opportunity to have this case heard. As much as it is not just about me, it is about due process. It is about expert testimony. It's about a clear understanding of what can be presented to defend yourself and your intellectual property. I have to be okay knowing that my fight, my journey, me not giving up is going to definitively say one of two things. Either underfunded creatives fighting billion-dollar companies do stand a chance in a court of law, or that we do not. So I want to share this open letter before we get the show started. And then we're going to talk about some of this gossip out here in these entertainment industry streets. So this is an open letter. It is one that I wrote after reading some really disappointing news over the last couple of days. And I hope it reaches someone. But I understand that even if it does not, and even if my writ of certiorari is not worthy of a response from the Supreme Court, as it was not worthy of a response from Katori Hall's attorneys or Lionsgate's attorneys, it reaches one of you. I have learned that my truth, maybe it's not about it being accepted in a court of law, but maybe my truth is about being accepted in a court of public opinion. When justice favors Goliath, what the Supreme Court must decide about who gets heard. By moi, Nicci Gilbert Daniels. Last week, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson issued a scorching dissent that stopped me in my tracks. In a case about clean vehicle rules, she warned that the Supreme Court is feeding a dangerous perception that justice is more accessible to billion-dollar corporations than it is to ordinary people. For someone standing on the front lines of that very fight, I felt seen. Because this isn't theory. This is my life. I'm a Black woman from Detroit, Grammy-nominated artist, a playwright, a creator, and I am in the fight of my life against a billion-dollar media empire. In 2020, I filed a lawsuit against Lionsgate and the creators of P-Valley, a hit series that I believe copied the heart of a stage play I wrote years earlier, Soul Kitten's Cabaret. The parallels were undeniable to me and many others, but my case was tossed before a jury ever heard it. The judge said no reasonable juror could find the work similar. My expert witness was dismissed, and I was ordered to pay almost $1 million in legal fees to the very company I believe exploited my work. That's not justice. That is economic intimidation dressed up in legal robes. Now my case, Gilbert Daniels versus Lionsgate, sits before the United States Supreme Court. I filed a petition asking them to hear it, to reconsider how courts evaluate copyright theft, to finally let a jury of everyday people weigh in on the facts instead of corporations defining the narrative unchallenged. Justice Jackson's dissent couldn't have come at a more powerful time. In it, she criticized the court before bending over backwards to hear a case brought by wealthy fuel producers, even though the law they were challenging was nearly moot. Why? Because she suggested those with deep pockets seem to enjoy a shorter line and a softer landing. This case, she wrote, gives fodder to the unfortunate perception that moneyed interests enjoy an easier road to relief in this court than ordinary citizens. Tell me that is not exactly what is happening here. I'm not a billion-dollar corporation. I'm not a billion-dollar brand. I am a woman who stood up pro se, armed with only the truth, creative ownership, and the will to fight for what is mine. I didn't just lose the copyright case. I was stripped of my constitutional right to a jury trial. I was punished for not having the power, the funding, or the access of the corporate machine. And now, I wait to see whether the Supreme Court will open the door for me or just prove Justice Jackson's warning was not only prophetic, but already a reality for me. This case matters for every artist, writer, entrepreneur, and underdog who dares to build something original. If the courts continue to raise the bar so high that only those with millions in legal firepower can bring claim, then copyright law becomes a fortress, not a shield. And creativity itself becomes a risk you cannot afford to take unless you already belong to the club. Let me be clear. This isn't just about my play. It's about whether the legal system sees creators like me worthy of protection or they just see us as collateral damage. It's about whether the highest court in the land will send a message that justice doesn't belong to Goliath. It belongs to all of us. So to the court, I say, if you could make time for a case brought on by oil companies challenging a law that is already on its way out, then can you make time for a woman who's still standing, still fighting, and still demanding to be heard? Justice isn't just about the cases you decide. It's about the ones you choose not to ignore. My family is in the fight of our lives. We have lost so much over the years, and all we are asking for is an opportunity to be heard by a jury of our peers. Thank y'all for listening. What up, though, sexy people? What up, though, beautiful people? What up, though, beautiful, 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 beautiful people? I see you in the room, Cedric. I see you in the room, Dwayne. I see you, XO. And yes, I see my soror. I said my soror in the chat. Y'all, listen. That was hard. And we're still in the fight. I want to be clear. The Supreme Court has not made a decision on my writ yet. But I thought it was really important to share that open letter, not only because I've had a hell of a week, y'all. I done had a hell of a week. But also, and I believe that, you know, it's important to release this. You know, it's interesting because I had inquired about whether or not I should be publicizing my Supreme Court writ and whether or not I should be amplifying, you know, this journey that is still not over. But based on the dissent written by Justice Brown Jackson, I just kind of, you know, and I'm not throwing in the towel. Don't get it twisted. I'm not throwing, oh, she's not throwing in the towel, honey. No, she's not doing that. But I am just dealing with the cold, hard reality that what I thought was going to be a real opportunity in a court system that I felt would not just lean in favor of corporations. And I'm not suggesting or saying that the Supreme Court would ever do that. But when you read an actual justice write a dissent that says, in order to make sure people don't perceive that, we should be very careful about it. It just kind of, it's triggering. It's triggering as AF. And it's a lot, you know, and it's just, you know, again, this isn't about sympathy. This is about information. This is about understanding. And if the only thing that comes out of this case for me is the understanding that we don't really stand a chance against well-funded individuals, then that is powerful in and of itself, because it's like, you know, you can't cure a disease, but you have information about how the disease works. You know, you have information about things that you can do to like soften the blow of it. You know what I mean? And I kind of got a little geeked up in this Supreme Court journey and got a little beside myself because I kind of started feeling like, oh shit, you know, my soror, she's on here. We're going to talk a little bit about it. You know, I got geeked up. And I needed this opinion from Judge Jackson. And this was on another case. This wasn't on my case, but it was on another case. And it's just the fact that she not confirmed, because she did not confirm that is what the court is doing. I got to be real careful about my words here. But she just highlighted an issue that I have really been afraid of. And I'm not afraid of a lot of stuff. I'm not, but the idea that you get to the Supreme Court and they don't see that it is worthy of due process and our whole future is at stake. Everything we've built all these years. My grandson's future is at stake. My granddaughter's future is at stake. My home, everything we have built is on the chopping block after dedicating so much time and love and energy and attention to being a decent person in this industry who really wants to see positive change, to know that because I fought, that's why I'm getting this out the way early so we can focus on the messy shit. To know that I fought as hard as I have for the right to present evidence. That's all I've wanted. The right to present evidence to everyday people. And it has been blocked every step of the way. And I want to be clear, because I don't want nobody talking about I came on my YouTube channel and said something that wasn't true. So today, and then a little while, the 170K that everybody was talking about on the internet. And I like to put my own business out there. The one thing I don't want is, especially when it's related to business, my personal shit, whatever, guess all you want to. Try to figure that shit out, or anybody an explanation about my personal life. But in business and the choices that I make in business and the decisions that affect my business and my career, I want to make sure that you have the truth before it has an opportunity to get out here and be all out in these like messy ass entertainment industry streets. Because we see, based on this Diddy thing that our soror is about to give us an update on, that there's a whole lot of stuff that was being said out there about him. Although a lot of it is terrible, we discovered that a lot of it was just the internet just blowing shit up. So rather than give people the opportunity to do that as it relates to me, and not just that, there are people out there who feel like this fight that I've been having, not that many now, thank God, but there are still people out there who feel like this is about being petty, this is about being delusional, this is about being, it is none of those things. It is not frivolous. Nobody does this. I've said it a million times. And I need for people to be clear that this fight that I've been having for 5 years is not just about me. It is about every creative on this planet and how and if we will ever have an opportunity to be protected. Because I guarantee you this, if the Supreme Court turns a blind eye to my case is going to be the example of having an expert testimony, having proof that you showed up to the meeting with your scripts and lawyers that can vouch for the fact that they're friends with the CEO and set up the meetings. You can have depositions that were sworn testimonies where things that are said in those depositions definitely would potentially have a juror say, Things that were said by Katori, things that were said by the CEO, things that were said by Nico, all those things that were said. Why would you want to make sure those things are redacted? Why would you want to make sure those things are never able to be viewed by the public if you're telling the 100% truth? Right? Why would they be redacted? But all of the evidence that I presented, all of it, the fact that I met with them, the experts report, what they said in deposition, and the side-by-side comparisons, all was thrown in the trash like it was nothing. And if the Supreme Court does not give me the opportunity to present that evidence and really have a real trial, then that is their right. But what it will do for all of us as creatives is it will make it clear that no matter how good your evidence is and no matter how straight your facts are, if somebody got more money than you can forget about it. So, anywho, let me turn on my favorite song so I can get in the spirit. Hey, let me get some energy here. Hey. So next up on this here show, Nice with Nicci. First of all, I want to thank all of y'all for coming out in these YouTube streets, trying to shift the energy up, which is why I wanted to get that out of the way. Please stand by, creatives. And next up, I am going to bring into the situation, you understand? I'm finna, hold up, where she at? Hold up, let me find her. Let me find her. Where she at? Let me find her. Oh my God. See, I can't even get the fly shit going because I'm trying. Hold on, I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming. I'm coming, I'm coming. Where you at, Soror? Where you at, Soror? Is that you? There she go. Let's get Suge up out of here. Boop, boop. Do, 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 do. Okay, okay, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the dream team. Hopefully, our other dream team member, Big Meech, will be joining us. What's up, sister girl? How are you today? Oh, this always happens. This always freaking happens. Now you open. Go ahead, baby.
Boom! Hey y'all! So I wore my black woman shirt for you today because black women are the shit, okay? And we love each other. And you already know this, but I love you so much. And you're an amazing person. And I just really wish these internet streets would get up off your case because they don't know you for real. Like you literally have a heart to go. And I just want to say that before I jump into my stuff today, because
I was really trying not to be emotional, okay? I
okay,
got you in this
sorry,
mud so
I'm
we could
just
laugh a little
saying.
bit. Let them look. Let them motherfuckers keep thinking I'm Cruella Deville. I got the white melon streak in my head.
I just I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to say that first. Okay. So hey y'all in the comment
Let me
section.
say this now. I love you, and you are one of the smartest, realest, dopest, most informative. I learn so much every time. So thank you for being here, Sora.
Anytime. I'm a big old nerd. Okay. So, where you want me to start? You want me to start with Diddy? You want me to start with Kendrick? Where we start? Where you want me to start today? Because I got
Well, let's start
all
on a
the tea.
good. Okay, well look.
Let's start.
Let's not
Let's
let's
start on
not
a
bring
good
it up
note.
and then bring it down. Okay, let's
Okay.
let's
Okay.
let's
Okay.
find out what's going on with Diddy. What's happening with Diddy?
Okay. 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 So, update on what is going on with the Diddy trial. So, according to ABC News, today in court, during cross examination of Special Agent Joseph Cercilio, I think I said that right, who is with Homeland Security Investigations. Basically, they showed a ton of the text messages between Diddy and other people talking about the freak offs and things that were included, baby oil, Cialis, things like that that were mentioned during these text messages that were all on clips. They were on video clips, so they could not be heard by the public, but it was heard by the jurors, and then of course the judge and the prosecution and all of those people were listening to all of this while it was playing. Now, here's something interesting turn of events. The court was adjourned for today. The defense will finish their cross examination of Agent Cercilio tomorrow morning, and then the government is going to rest their case. Now, after the government rests their case, the defense is going to present a motion to ask for a directed verdict of acquittal, which means that the jury will not be present for that. It will be decided by the judge on that motion. Now, if the motion is denied, then the defense is going to present its case, but they have stated that they will not call any witnesses, but there are exhibits that they want to display to enter into the record for the jury to review. And then, if that's the case, because the defense has decided not to call any witnesses, then everything should get wrapped up around Wednesday morning. And then the jury will hear closing arguments on Thursday. The prosecution and the defense will both rest after their closing arguments, which could take up to 4 hours. And then the jury will hear the judge from the hear the instructions from the judge on Friday to start deliberations. So that.
Wow. So let me ask you this question. What is this acquittal situation? Like that's weird. And And we talked about this. We've been talking about this Diddy thing back and forth, and we're gonna definitely get into some questions. I'm sorry, guys. I saw your questions about my P Valley update, so I'm gonna answer those questions. But I just want to ask Lauren first. Does that mean that Diddy is actually about to ask the court? Oh, and by the way, Meech is coming in, y'all. So get ready, because y'all know he gonna bring it. What does that mean? Does that mean he's trying to get an acquittal from this case overall?
So essentially, what it means is based on everything that has been presented in court, the defense does not feel like the prosecution or the government has made their case for the charges that have been presented, especially with this RICO charge for the trafficking, which is like the biggest thing that he's facing because that's federal time, because it would have been across state lines. So if in their motion, the judge accepts their motion, then the judge will actually make a ruling without the jury, and then that will be the final decision in this case. If the judge decides not, if he denies their motion, then that means the defense will have a chance to present whatever additional evidence that they want to present, for the jury, so that they have those additional details going into deliberation, but they will not call any witnesses, which means that Diddy will not be taking the stand.
Wow, that's really interesting. Y'all know, the chat knows, I've always thought he should take the stand. And I think he should take the stand because, not that I think if he did all these things is going to change any of that. Like, I think that people, have a fairly horrible idea about, the things that they saw in the Cassie video. And of course, who wouldn't? But I think he should take the stand again because I think he should humanize himself. I think that if he thinks that there is the slightest possibility, because I was also reading something where they were saying that there's like a kind of a complicated sheet that the jurors have to fill out where they have to like determine each of the charges and determine if each of these charges meets the whatever it is. And yeah, I think if there's even the slightest possibility that he may not just reach the jury, right? Because the jurors are there. They've seen everything. They've seen a lot of stuff we have not seen. I heard that they were like listening to the freak off tapes and some folks were like clutching pearls and whatnot. But maybe there's something that he can say that, like I said earlier today, sometimes even if you don't win in a court of law, there are lots of reasons why we don't win. At least we're left with a feeling that you get what you did was wrong. You get what you did was affected a lot of people's lives, the culture. And even if it's not even about him appealing his case, maybe just about him apologizing, not just to the victims, but to his children, first and foremost, who have lost so much. Like, I can't even imagine. Beautiful kids, smart kids, really, I've met a couple of them and they're very cool, cordial, kind kids, and they don't deserve this. They didn't ask for any of this. And the public opinion has been really harsh on his children. So, like, I just feel like if he could use that as an opportunity to just speak his truth, whatever that is, so that even if the court of law doesn't change their opinion of him and his punishment, the court of public opinion could potentially understand. Because I'm still looking for the RICO stuff. Okay, let me ask this let me get into a couple of these questions real quick. Dwayne says, I'm curious of how you felt the moment you saw the show debut and then to hear all the rave about it. Whew, Lord. Why did you do that to me? No, it's not. No. How did I feel? Initially, I felt confused, right? Because I was like, my husband saw it first, and then, like I said, and when I explained my claim, people started calling me or like, I got a text message. I very specifically remember a text message. Okay, B, I see you. Could have told us. We was there in the beginning. And I'm like, huh? And they're like, P Valley. Yeah, right. And I was like, what? And then my husband had said something because I didn't see it until maybe the second week. Right. And then, it was right after my birthday. It was right, coming out of the pandemic, trying to regroup from all that. So when I saw it, I was first confused. That was the first reaction. Like, wait a minute, like a red suitcase, really? Like what? And then I was like, okay, I got to watch the whole thing. So I painfully sat through and I watched every episode. And then I was like, but how could they, like, and then the first thing I went to was Diddy McKinney, who was in Soul Kitten's Cabaret, was in Katori Hall's play The Mountaintop. And The Mountaintop is two characters, Martin Luther King and this maid. So I went to go immediately started Googling that. And I was like, see, Katori, that's the only two people in the play. She definitely saw Soul Kittens. I just kind of started grabbing for straws or whatnot. And then it was my partner who was like, well, remember, we went to LA and pitched this to Lionsgate, which is the parent company. And I was like, ding, 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 ding. And it was like, no. And then I said, I'm going to wait until the end because I was like, maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I'm tripping. How I'm tripping, I don't know. But when the suitcase happened and then the casino happened and then the new girl saved the club, and I remember saying, because this was before I got the lawyer and I was just responding on emotion. I remember saying on Instagram, this looks really familiar, but I'm not going to assume anything until I know for sure if this thing ends the same way Soul Kittens ended, somebody got my sugar honey iced tea. And sure enough, it ended the same way. New girl takes over the club and blah, 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 blah. So I hired a lawyer right at the end of the season. And the lawyer was like, take all that down, blah, 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 blah. I sent everything into them. I sent in all of my receipts. And they were like, okay, are we drinking the Kool-Aid or is this just that obvious? And then because it's hard if you're watching the play, and here we go into the soul. Here, I thought I was over this, but I'm answering it and I'm going there. So it's difficult if you're watching it, and it's a drama series. So as a drama series, it has hours and days and weeks to develop a story, which is part of the reason I lost my case, because one of the appeals court judges literally, and if you would be so kind as to go to, after this, there is a AI breakdown of my appeal, because the judges were asking questions like, oh, well, you only mentioned the casino a couple of times in your play, but it's mentioned throughout the entire season of P Valley. That's the reason why we hired an expert, because we don't expect the judge to understand that if something is a stage play, it may, be only established in the beginning and mentioned a few times, because you don't have 8 to 10 hours to tell that story, right? So yes, to answer your question, I was initially confused. I was shocked as hell and disappointed, but I just knew. And then I got like an email from somebody who knew Katori and who knew one of the other characters, and they were like, do you think there's any possibility that you got played? And then both of y'all got played. Tori Hart asked me the same question when I did her podcast. She was like, you think it's any possibility that they played both of y'all? And I was like, I don't think so. No, that's not what I said. What I said was, because I didn't know if it was a setup, what I said was, I wasn't there. I don't know. It's not my business. So someone who knew them from Memphis. And then I realized that I had some DMs from Brandy Evans from a year or so prior. And I was like, ooh, this is interesting. Because how sometimes your DMs on Instagram go to another section. So I wasn't so devastated by it until I realized that I was getting the runaround by the judicial system. I waited a whole entire year in Georgia before my case was transferred to California. And the day my case got transferred to California and assigned to this particular judge, and I did the research on him, that's when y'all saw me out here in these streets saying, please give me a trial. Please give me a trial. Please let me go to court. Please let me show my evidence. Please let this happen. Because I knew that that particular judge had cases with these defendants before, charged the plaintiff's legal fees, threw it out, dismissed it. Like, I knew I was going into the lion's den, literally. And I knew I did not stand a chance. So for that whole 4-year process, it was devastating because the public didn't give a fuck. Well, I mean, blogs talked about it, and certain people will on the side be like, we really believe you. But the fact is, cases are won in the court of public opinion all the time. Just like the Diddy and Cassie situation. The fact that she was like, put her case out and put the lawsuit out, and everybody was like, oh my God, did you see this? And blah, 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 blah. And because, again, I say it all the time, people didn't like me because of R&B divas. Say, fuck that bitch, she lying, blah, blah, blah. And that was the hardest part. Honestly, the hardest part of this case, big girl panties, outside of going through it while my sister was dying of brain cancer, with no mercy from them, you might add, was the public response or lack thereof. Seeing them on the couch with Tamron Hall over and over and over again, getting NAACP Image Awards, seeing this character that I created, this story that I created, rewarded, and knowing not that, oh, this is my shit and they rewarding whatever, but the chances of me actually having an opportunity to go before a jury and actually find out the truth and tell the truth and share the truth, the chances of that happening were slim to none. I knew I wasn't going to have a chance, which is why we hired the expert, because I was like, if they don't believe me, they don't believe the fact that I met with him, and they redact the expert's testimony. I mean, they redact what Katori said and what the CEO I met with said, and all those people, right? They didn't deny meeting with me. They just said, even if the script was sitting right there, it's not the same. It's not the same. And I knew when they played that it's not the same card, I knew what they was trying to do. And that is law that was established by wealthy people who beat people who did not have the resources to stand up for themselves. And that law is the law that is the nail in the coffin for every creative on this planet. That substantial similarity shit, and allowing a judge to be a trier of fact, and allowing a judge, and I don't mean any disrespect to the judge, but I mean, my judge is like in his 80s, about to be mid 80s. It's creative story. It's no disrespect to Your Honor, but so you didn't ask for all that, but I gave it to you anyway. The local, state, and federal judicial composition in this country matters. The electorate must understand this going forward. We must exercise our right to vote in all elections, 100%, because, yeah. Oh, I see, Dwayne. No, it wasn't. Listen, I'll answer a question that makes sense. So please. He says, apologies if my question was insensitive. Congrats on coming this far. Victory will be yours soon enough. Honey, victory is literally my name. Hello. If you know Nicci, Nicole, it means victory. Hello. Nicci was a warrior. So I think I was built for this. Black women are superlative human form of the divine. I'll take it. Anyone with discernment can see Nicci's true colors. Thank you so much. Thanks for the context. It's amazing to know how you found out. And you had to watch it through to be sure. I thought maybe you knew it was production before it was released. No. I mean, and here's the thing, you guys, and this is still the truth. This is still the truth. I hate this for me, and I hate this for Katori Hall. I really, truly hate this. And then for those of you who have a long memory, I was also in the middle of some stuff with the Kelly Price being missing situation, and me being a real friend and really concerned about her whereabouts and her family, her daughter, her child, her sister, asking me for help, begging me for help, me ignoring them at first because I didn't want to be in the middle of that, knowing this case was coming. And when I know that I'm trying to lay low, for lack of a better word, because I was focused on, doing movies. I was focused on doing television series. I was focused on building WIRF.TV. I did not want to be in the middle of the Kelly Price shenanigans or the Katori Hall shenanigans, right? I already knew people didn't like me from R&B divas with my black gums and my knock knees. And me, I'm so evil and I'm so mean and I'm so terrible. So when the brat and her wife went in on me like that, and it went every fucking where, and I'm like, ugh. So I got, I'm defending Kelly. I get ate up. Now I got to go out here and be against the biggest show on television because I'm just this person who likes to go and start trouble everywhere. Not because I'm a dope ass fucking creator who created content and ideas and shows that people want to take from me. And I'm also from Detroit, so I wasn't having that shit, and I stood my ground. That ain't what that is not what, people will accept. They will just accept that I'm intentionally being difficult. If you guys are watching me on YouTube, I'm sorry I haven't said this. Please hit the like button. Please, watching us, I'm sorry, on YouTube, please hit the like and the subscribe button. It would mean the world. Hit like, hit like, hit like. Okay, let's pause from the drama of P Valley, which I feel like I will end up coming. Let me see. Did I get everybody's answer? Did I get everybody's response? The response to everybody's stuff? Da-da-da-da-da. Keon Marsh says, speak your truth. That's all we have. That's it. The truth is for the people. The truth is for the people. And I want you guys to really pray because it is horrible and it's super difficult. But yeah, I didn't want to do any of this. Not none of it. And I hate this for Katori. I hate this for myself. I hate this for everybody involved. Initially, Lionsgate was like, early on, while it was still in Georgia, they were talking about wrapping this thing up. So there was really not a whole lot of like tension and animosity. But then when it got transferred to LA to a judge that they was like, this might, then it just turned into like you. And the judge gave them everything they wanted. Everything they wanted. So now we're just relying on the Supreme Court. Okay, Sorors. Positive news, please. Positive news.
Oh, positive. Okay. So we are talking about nobody than Kendrick Lamar. So that's from one of his albums. If y'all don't know, I love me some Kendrick. Okay. So positive news.
I said I'm geeked and I'm fired up. Loyalty, loyalty, loyalty.
That part. That part. Okay. So recent news, Temple University will be holding a class based on Kendrick Lamar's work starting in the fall of 2025. The name of the course is Kendrick Lamar and the Moral of Mad City, which, that's part of the title of one of his albums. Mad City Good Kid or Good Kid Mad City. I can't remember which way it goes, but it's a good album. It's in the School of Africology and African American Studies. In the class, students will be able to analyze Kendrick Lamar's lyrics and how they have impacted society and changed the narrative of what music represents according to the griot. Now, for those that don't know, or for those that do, if you remember, in 2018, Kendrick Lamar was the first rapper to be awarded the Pulitzer Prize back in 2018 for his album Damn, which is an instant classic in the hip hop community. That album you can play forwards and backwards and around again 50 million ways. It just, that's one of the best albums he's ever made, and that's saying a lot because he, like, all of his work is just, it's so good. He's a very profound artist, and if you listen to his lyrics, like literally really listen to his lyrics, he definitely goes deep and makes you think about things in a different kind of way. And he represents Compton extremely well all day, every day, because he's from the West Coast. Now, Kendrick is not the first artist to have a class be taught about him or his work. UC Berkeley has had a few classes on some legendary artists. Stevie Wonder, of course, studying his musicality and his composition and how he has created some of the most classic music you will ever hear in your lifetime. Specifically songs in the Key of Life album. If you don't know, you better ask somebody. Okay, that's Motown's finest right there. UC Berkeley also taught a class on Nicki Minaj, and it was like about her being a feminine, MC, and like her whole thing that she does with the barbs. Georgia State had a class about Kanye West. Rutgers has done a class on Beyonce. Texas Georgetown University did a class on Jay-Z, and of course, the legendary Tupac. There was a class taught about his lyrics and lyricism at Harvard. That was back in 2012. So kudos to Kendrick Lamar, and continue to do the good works that you are doing out here in these streets, changing lives, representing for your community, and putting on for hip hop. True MC. He's just one of the best. I love him.
Kendrick Lamar is out here in these streets doing exactly what he needs to do, which is inspiring people. Did you see that clip of did you see the clip of Kendrick in Detroit running jogging along the riverfront? What up, though? Kendrick was in Detroit jogging along the riverfront, and it was so good to see the brother. I think he was with his son, jogging along the Detroit riverfront. So shout out to Kendrick. I'm about to go live, you guys, on Instagram, so I can bring some of the people over here. If you guys are just jumping in on our live on WIRF.TV YouTube channel, please make sure that you hit the like, the share, and the subscribe button. So guys, I want to play something for y'all, and it was really super, like, I could not believe it. Hey, IG, hello, 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 Instagram. We are doing our Nights with Nicci live, and if y'all, hi everybody, hello, hello, hello. I am live on all the platforms now. I'm sorry, I forgot to put YouTube on. So now I'm live on LinkedIn. I'm live on Facebook. I'm live on WIRF.TV YouTube channel with my soror, Lauren. And Big Meech is about to come in here too. So Instagram, please feel free to go over to our WIRF.TV YouTube channel, because I just read a really, what I believe is a powerful opening statement. I want to play this and then we're going to talk about it. You guys, R. Kelly is back in the news. Or should I say, not just R. Kelly is back in the news, but is it Azriel? Is it the young sister who's out there? And apparently what they're saying, hold on, let me see. Her parents were on TMZ. I don't want to show this clip. Oh, there he goes. Meech is here just in time for the R. Kelly of it all. Hey, boo, hey. Hold on, let me add you. To the left, to the left. What's up, baby? How are you? Uh-oh. I'm sorry. I got you muted. What's up, Big Meech?
What you know, no good, baby. What you know, no good. Ow! Wait a minute, I can't hear you. There you go.
So, guys, I want to play this real quick. These are the parents of, is it Azrael? I want to say that's her name, but they did an interview with TMZ, and it's really kind of heartbreaking. But hold on, maybe I should play what she said first. All right, and then we'll play what her parent. Okay, I don't have that, but I do have her parents.
Try to reach out to Jocelyn when my father passed. We have to always reach out through his camp, Robert Sylvester's camp. And the same time that we had to reach out through his camp through my father, the same way we did, the same way this time from Jonathan's mother. No response whatsoever. It's time up for that. It's just time out for all that. She needs to come.
Joseph, we need to hear from you directly.
Absolutely.
We've always heard the third-party information, and we weren't able to hear from her directly without what I call prison calls, where the calls are scripted and they are known to be scripted.
Everybody want to say she's grown. Let me hear from a grown woman. I want to hear from my daughter. That's what I want to hear from. I want to hear from a third party. I want to hear exactly from Jocelyn Sachs. Period.
We would like to have a one-on-one discussion with you as a family.
Listen, Robert is locked up. All these enablers need to move aside. Jocelyn, I need to see you at that. Try to reach out to Jocelyn.
Okay, guys, so that is really actually very heartbreaking. Her parents have been going through hell trying to figure out how to save their daughter. And she's a grown woman. And allegedly, she's saying she is going to get married to him, I want to say. Are they engaged? Which is crazy. Means you just came in. Why don't you give us your opinion of this? I mean, it's a fine line between somebody being a grown ass woman. I have one of my own who I raised, and parents being genuinely concerned about their daughter. What do you think?
Well, here's where it is. Parents are going to always be parents. Worry is always going to be genuine. Okay. Concern, wanted to protect my baby.
Mm-hmm.
Here's something that is a delight for me, and that there is we are absolutely hearing the father of this baby, absolutely in the forefront of all of this, and not just the mother. Okay, we're absolutely hearing her father. Um, at this particular juncture, all they have is speculation. They were saying that this looked like this is AI, and when I looked at it, I said, no, I can see why you say that, but y'all pulling at straws because as a someone who deals with video and carrying on, it wasn't lined up. The sound didn't line up because of how it was recorded and uploaded into the system. So it was a little off. The audio didn't link up. But for whatever reasons, this young woman feels as though she has found her peace. And right now, I say this all the time about women and gay men. You can't tell a bitch about her man. Okay, you can't tell her shit about her man. Okay, so at this particular stage of the game, as tragic as this is, and as much heartbreak and all of that, this girl is on this journey for whatever reason. God got her on it, and the parents are going to have to not step away from it. They're going to have to. They're going to have to take their hands off of it and yet still find the answers that they're looking for. Because as long as she says, I'm not talking to y'all, I don't want to be bothered, there is nothing else they can do. Because they can't make her do anything. It's not like your mama can sit up and put her hand on her hip and pat her foot and you go do like I say. That girl don't live in the house no more. And she don't, I have not seen them, I have not talked to them in 6 years. She said, I choose not to call them. That's what came from the baby's mouth. I choose not to call them. So whatever this is, we just gonna have to get it up to the Lord and then, okay, you want to do your thing? You still my baby. Home is home. The doors are gonna always be open. And I'm gonna have to wait. And as a parent, that there is the hardest thing because now you have got to trust that everything that you have instilled into your child, they're going to remember at some point. They're going to run back to those teachings at some point and then come back to their senses. But right now, child, I got a life to live because I can't. If I worry so much about you to where it makes me sick that I'm no good for the both of us, I'm going to have to let you have that and give you over to the Lord. But Lord, bless her, take care of her, and bring my baby back home when it's time.
Yeah, I really hate to agree, but I have to agree because you just at a certain point, parenting has to step away from controlling a person's decisions when they're an adult and leaning into what you cannot change. I have had to do it. I still have to do it. It is very difficult when you see. It's interesting. We've been talking about C. Dolores Tucker. You guys on Instagram, please make sure you go over to WIRF.TV YouTube channel. And those of you who are watching on the YouTube channel, please make sure you hit that like button so YouTube knows that you are enjoying this conversation. But when you start talking about parents having to make the decision to step away from something for their own mental wellness and their own mental health, I hate to see those parents going through that struggle. Every time you look at the R. Kelly situation, you see a clip from her parents or other parents. And I mean, how do you tell a father that he shouldn't fight for his children, his daughter? How do you tell a mom that she should just let her daughter go and be with someone that she doesn't believe is healthy for her? That's terrible. I can't even imagine. I've been in this situation where I'm like, yep, you're running into a brick wall, there's a brick wall in front of you, smash. and you just have to control how you respond to it. We've been talking about C. Dolores Tucker and how she tried to warn us several times about the music and how detrimental it was to our culture, and we did not listen. That is kind of what I feel like her parents are going through right now. They know that this is not okay, and unfortunately, they have to just accept it. So R. Kelly is appealing his decision. In fact, let me share this with you guys. This is really interesting. Yeah, I'm like, hold on, bro, 1 second. If you are watching me on YouTube, please hit the like button. And if you're watching me on Instagram, please go over to that yonder YouTube channel and holla at your girl. Okay. Here is a detailed breakdown of R. Kelly's appeal, his appeal journey. I'm sorry. So he appealed to the Second Circuit, and they affirmed his 2021 racketeering and sex trafficking, YouTube convictions, finding the government's evidence solid and rejecting all defense challenges like issues on jury bias, evidentiary rulings, and sentencing. The court on February 12th, I guess, upheld that his actions met the RICO statute, which is the definition of an enterprise, and dismissed arguments about improper use of jurors or weak evidence. Now, what's really interesting is I wonder if things go a certain way in the Diddy trial, if that could potentially impact R. Kelly's situation. You say, Lauren, you shaking your head no. Why is that?
So, according to CNN, today, the Supreme Court declined to hear his appeal. So he's there. So the Supreme Court is not. They declined to hear his appeal up to the Supreme Court. So the ruling that happened at the district court is going to stand. So he's there.
I've been muted that whole time. I'm sorry. Thank y'all for letting me know. I'm sorry. I apologize, you guys. Just rambling and running my mouth the whole time, and you guys could not hear me. Thank you for letting me know that. So basically, what I said in a nutshell, Instagram, y'all heard me. But the people on YouTube did hear me. So in a nutshell, it just basically means the Supreme Court has denied his opportunity to be heard. The only thing he could do is get a presidential pardon or a compassionate release. On the civil front, he faces many ongoing lawsuits up to $1 million. Let me ask this question of the chat. Thank y'all for letting me know. I just realized that. They're like, Nicci, we can't hear you. You're just talking, not paying attention, just running my big ass mouth. But let me ask you guys in the chat, let me ask you guys on IG, do you believe that black men and then I'm not trying to turn this into the what they trying to do to our brothers thing, but do you think that black men face harsher penalties? And I mean, because there's the Abercrombie and Fitch guy. He hasn't even been to jail. Then there's the Epsteins and the Weinsteins of it all. Like these guys, either they're dragging their feet or maybe there's something that I don't understand. Meech, do you think that this is a bigger issue with black men getting access to justice? And are they penalized more harsh than their white counterparts?
Of course, girl, I'm gonna say one name that is going to wake this up because the justice system still has not recovered from it. Now that's O.J. Simpson.
Mm.
Point blank.
What do
Period.
you mean? You mean that because he got off?
That's
Exactly.
the problem.
Exactly. That's that. Exactly.
That's the
He
problem.
was a man of color, a black man with the resources to do what our Caucasian counterparts have been doing forever. And that there was, he beat the system.
Yep.
And
Ever
what's real?
since then, ever since then, the justice system with folks with money, okay, has never been the same. Let's look at everybody who got money that they done went down anyway. Because why? This system has been trying to neutralize our black men with money. Point blank, period. They have drawn this stuff out. They have tried to get everything done to where you have no more coin. So they think. So they try to neutralize it so that this thing will never come back again. Yes, it's
Hmm.
unfair. How in the hell does Harvey Weinstein, honey, not do anything? We still are trying to figure out what's going on with him. You sit up there and now because you're in a wheelchair, now all of a sudden you too sick to do X, Y, and Z or go to trial or whatever all this is. With Bill Cosby, y'all hobbled Bill in, blind and all, honey. Y'all gave him a guide dog or whatever, a person that
Michael
guided his
Jackson
ass
too.
in there.
Yep.
Hello, y'all guided dances in there. This here, O.J. Simpson is the name I'm gonna call, and that
Hmm.
there is going to set every that question you just asked. That's the answer because the legal system has not been right. White America has not been right since then. Not right. The legal system has changed since then. A black man got another black man off by saying, if it don't fit, you must
Nope.
acquit. And he held that hand up, that big ass hand, and that little ass glove, and it did not fit. And he got off.
That's really
Like,
interesting. They're saying that's what the chat is saying on Instagram. They're saying that OJ had good lawyers. Of course, he had Johnny Cochran. Yes, Carrie says yes. There is a bias, whether conscious or subconscious, and everybody is pointing to the fact that he had Senior Johnny Cochran, one of the greatest to ever do it. And I agree. I do think that the judicial system leans, and we just had you guys. Y'all weren't here for the live on YouTube. Make sure you guys watch it back. I opened the show up with a very transparent moment talking about this very thing. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson just issued a dissent in a case talking about how the Supreme Court cannot risk people believing that they lean in favor of billionaires and big corporate interests. But I know if we're honest and we start talking about what's going on in this court system, I mean, sometimes that's just kind of how it goes down. Chat, you guys are very quiet today. I want to hear your feedback on these issues as well. Lauren, what is your perspective on what the solution to it is? Is there a solution? And here's the thing. While we talking about them being in their feelings or feeling some type of way because of the issue with OJ, if Puff gets off, do you think that they will be even more upset and more sock it to me cakeish? What do you think, Lauren?
Um, it's yes. Short answer is yes. Like with this whole OJ thing, like they have this unnatural obsession with OJ and like how he got away and all of this other kind of stuff, like his dream team of attorneys. I let's be clear. There are several documentaries about OJ Simpson on different streaming platforms right now, and they keep coming out from all these different angles about the same thing. They didn't get him for unaliving people, but they did get him for something else. So he did go to prison for some amount of time years later. But the justice system overall, you can have the same case, same type of case with a young Caucasian man and a young black man of the same age do the same thing. The black man is getting sentenced. The young white man is, oh, he's such a good kid. He didn't mean it. He was, drunk. He shouldn't have been drinking. First of all, he shouldn't have been drinking if he was under 21. But there are two cases I'm speaking of in particular, and they both have to do with the R word, against young women, two different campuses. The young black man, he was sentenced to like 15 to 20 years. He was found guilty. The young white man got off with a slap on the wrist. And basically it was just like he shouldn't lose his scholarship because he was on a swim scholarship or some type of sports scholarship or whatever. The accountability of the way that the justice system is set up between black versus white in this country has never been fair since the emancipation, if we're being totally honest. And, there was this whole thing in the 80s with the epidemic of the drugs that were being brought in by the president because it was an economic move. Remember, I talked about that before, about the economic moves. They blame that on us, but you're the one that's flooding this stuff in our communities in the first place. We don't have no boats to bring this stuff over here. You bringing this over here. So it's a long string that you can really just pinpoint any time throughout history and pick a case and see the injustices and how things are different for black versus white. So if Sean, P. Diddy, Puff, Love Daddy Combs, whoever he wants to go by at any given time, if he gets acquitted and released, there are going to be serious problems. And the whole thing with like this Epstein, like I watched a documentary on him, which I found to be very interesting. It was a 2-part. It's on a streaming service. I'm not gonna say which one because they ain't paying us. But it was very interesting, and a lot of people, to be perfectly honest with
How do we lose her? Oh my God, how do we lose? See, they just do not like us talking about the real shit. Ain't that something? Okay, come on back in. Sora, come on, they not playing us like that. Continue.
yeah, they don't think that he is dead. He had his own island. He had his own island. Island, like a piece of land in the middle of the ocean that you
Oh,
have to
that
take
way.
a private plane to get to. Mind you, several presidents have been there in the past. You know what I'm saying? Bill Clinton,
We getting a little hot. We getting a little hot. We not gonna name the president's names just yet. We just getting this little struggle YouTube channel off the ground. We don't want nobody saying we can't come talk to the people because we said stuff. But boy, oh boy, y'all make sure if you're watching me on IG right now that you go over to wirf.tv YouTube. That is the link in there. And you hit like as soon as you come up in here. And I want to get into some of the chats responses to this because L Boogie was on fire, about to get us fired off of YouTube. Okay. EXO says there is merit to discussion about racial bias in the judicial system. However, predatory men, regardless of color, they ought to be held legally accountable for sexual misconduct. I'm supposed to say actual on YouTube, you guys. I'm sorry. Men commit about 70%, if not more, of violent crime, yet our society feeds into their patriarchal delusion that they're superior. Okay. We could not agree with you more in this regard. And you guys, I'm just going to drop this in here real quick because I pulled it up. I posted it on my YouTube. Uh-oh, that just got real big. Hold on. How do I escape from this here thing? How do you escape from this thing? I pulled it up on my YouTube channel. My Instagram channel earlier today. This is a clip from our film, Social Conflict. We talked a little bit about this, and I just want to share this clip because then we'll get into the conversation about, I'm not, and listen, I don't want anybody to feel this is very short. So somebody said baby oil combs. Stop it. You guys, if you're watching me on Instagram, go over to the YouTube channel. Make sure y'all hit like because I'm about to show y'all a real quick clip. But we just talked about this a couple of days ago, and then I'm going to expound a little bit on what EXO is talking about because here's the thing. There's always this, no, not that person. He couldn't have. And men commit a lot of egregious acts, right? And this is based on a true story. It is about sexual assault. It is available to watch on our YouTube channel. If you become a member, you can go watch it right after this episode. Please become a member. And thank you in advance for hitting like and subscribe. Take a look at this. It's just 1 minute. And if you're on IG, you got to go over to WIRF.TV YouTube so you can see it. Okay. But we did a movie called Social Conflict based on a true story. There are still people to this day they would never believe, based on all the positive things he did for the kids, was molesting little boys in the choir all the time.
Hey, David, how you doing?
Since you always giving presents to your student, I got a present for you.
Oh, okay. No, David.
Baby. Shout out to my dad who played the role of Tillis Butler, who we talked about this on our live a couple days. I think it was on Friday. We were talking about C. Dolores Tucker. We were talking about the fact that, a lot of times victims are not heard, especially when those victims are men. So we talked a little bit about the Tyler Perry accusations, the Fat Joe accusations, and the fact that just like EXO said, there's a merit. I'm sorry, I had a gas bubble, y'all. It was driving me crazy. I was sitting here trying to push it out, so y'all just gonna have to live with it for a second. But just like EXO said, there is merit to discussion about racial bias. However, Black men have done some really terrible things, and Black men in entertainment have let us down tremendously. And I am just hopeful that whatever happens in this Diddy situation, that it has created a wave of believing victims and, just facing the cold, harsh reality that this entertainment industry is built on some blue sugar honey iced tea. So I'm about to bring my panel back up. And what do y'all think about EXO's comment that our society feeds into this patriarchal delusion that they're the superior sex? This is very, okay, I don't know why, baby, why we have not had drop-off issues on this live in a minute. So the UDA, owners of the algorithm, must know we onto some good talk. But Meech or Lauren, either one of you take this. How do you feel about society basically saying, Tyler ain't done that, Joe ain't done that, leave them men alone. Y'all just hating, trying to take down the Black man.
Well, here's where it is, okay? When we get to the you could do no wrong status in society, a lot of people we refuse to see that that they're human and that they have flaws. We refuse to see them. It's just like the pastor of the church. Okay, the pastor, you don't speak ill of the pastor. Now that's a man of God. Okay, and carrying on. However, he's still human. Okay, and then they quick to tell you if the pastor got caught cheating with somebody, well, he's still a man. Okay, now how in the hell he's still a damn man, but yet you finna crucify everybody damn else? Okay, Don't nobody want to take accountability for it or whatever. And then that becomes the excuse of him giving a pass. Okay. And we tend to do that because we have allowed ourselves to become, we romanticize the fact that we have a hero. You understand? It's just like Dr. Martin Luther King. Honey, folks fail to, they don't want to believe that Martin Luther King cheated on Coretta. But every movie that came out, honey, Coretta had to deal with that. And the fact of the matter is, she couldn't go with him everywhere that he went because she had to stay with the children, and she knew that the hookers were sitting up there throwing themselves at him. She knew that. But don't nobody want to realize that. Don't nobody want don't you say nothing bad about Martin Luther King. Okay. So we are here. We refuse to allow ourselves to see the flaws in people. Okay. We refuse to let them to let folks be people, and we refuse to allow people the opportunity to make amends for their wrongs, to hold them accountable, to be responsible. Because we got the yes men that'll go through sweeping up under the carpet. That's why R. Kelly's in the mess that he's in, because they try to protect him versus trying to sit up there and say, man, you wrong.
Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Try to protect him versus say that he's wrong. That is the point that I think Suge Knight was trying to make. A lot of people said, because Suge says the same thing that I say. Me and Suge and a couple of other people think that Diddy should, in fact, take the stand. And Suge feels like Diddy should take the stand because his whole point is tell them everything. You know, if you were groomed, if it happened to you, if it whatever. And so often we finger point and hone in on the person who's actually physically participating in the act, which there's a lot to say about that. But the silence of the people around these men, the silence of the people who have a pretty good idea that they are engaging in illegal, egregious ass, get everybody locked up ass behavior. And for some reason, they're still able to reap the benefits of connection to these people. None of them are called to the carpet when we have these big hearings. I'm sad to hear that Diddy doesn't have anybody that's going to come to the table and speak up on the defense side, because I would like to know who was there. Who was there for R. Kelly? Who was there for Bill Cosby? Who was there for, all of these people that are doing all of this horrible shit? There were people in their camp who knew about it, and they still allowed it to happen. So, Meech, continue your thought. I'm sorry.
Of course.
I'm also, let's look at this too, because I was just discussing this on the Can I Have a Word with You podcast with Minister Lavelle Hayes. We were talking about defining masculinity and what does it mean today. Okay. And one of the things about being a man in this particular day and age is the fact of it's all about making sure that I'm not soft. I'm not seen as no punk. And let's look at what's going on here. A lot of these allegations and carrying on are coming directly. And they're always sexual in nature. Okay. Why is it that we're proving masculinity through somebody's sex? And then trying to make sure that they're not hard or whatever. This whole Diddy thing is about whether or not this man is bi, non-binary, pan, or whatever. What difference does it make? He played the way he played. Don't nobody know that but those who are actually there in the playroom. Now, everybody can speculate all they want. The allegations with Tyler Perry. Honey, I know the rainbow community, honey, we've been saying it for years. However, it's only been speculation. Nobody knows for sure except for those who he played with. Okay, I could give the definitives. Okay, but the speculation comes down to always wanting to challenge someone's masculinity, and all these sexual allegations for those who have touched women and have, the allegations are coming from women, it becomes about power. I need to have my harem. I need to have this. I need to have that. Whether they are dealing with women issues or not, see, because it becomes convoluted there, or at least it becomes, we have other factors. I don't know if you had issues with women and you're mad at your mama, you're mad at your auntie or whatever that is. We don't know if you was having problems downstairs and you're trying to overcompensate for something. We don't know what that is until it comes out or you tell the truth about the matter or whatever your psyche is. But all of these particular allegations, particularly when it comes to black men, because now dealing with black men, we are still dealing with post-traumatic slave disorder because the black man is still seen as the mandingo. That we still have that sexual prowess on us to where they still see us as sexual beings, as fetishes, and this, that, and the other. And some of us end up playing into that when we get money, power, and prestige. Because now you can't tell me no. You know what I'm saying? Those who adulterate their power and feel as though you're not supposed to tell me no, then we hear the allegations of coercion and this and another. Those who have been a little bit more loving, a little bit more caring and carrying on to where they were more grooming, you know, then you hear, well, over time, well, I didn't really know that this was this, so we're hearing all of that, but now it comes to where black men and their sexual prowess is always having to be defined, defended, and demonstrated in some kind of way because now we're demonstrating what that means. And then trying to prove how much of a loving, caring individual that we are, but yet you tell me at the same time we're trying to have that, you said you have no self-control over your Johnson, honey. Why is that?
Why is that? Real quick, 85 Music Lover on IG says, if we're being honest, YT people protect their own. Elvis and his legacy will always be protected by his people. And it's not just him. Nobody talks about Charlie Sheen anymore. And if you know, you know. Interesting. Lauren just talked about Hugh Hefner and all the things that happened at that Playboy mansion. And nobody talked about that. EXO has another point on YouTube. He says, Nicci, do you think that in the defense, in the Diddy trial, do you think that the defense in the Diddy trial won't call witnesses because they would likely perjure themselves to protect Diddy? Diddy was surrounded by a lot of those yes people you were referring to. The defense alluded in its opening statement that while Diddy isn't guilty of the charges, he was an abusive, unsavory character. It's really interesting because, again, sometimes you wonder if money and power and influence shows up in the courtroom. I believe a lot of times for non-black people it does. And I know that certain people think that we are always pulling the race card, but I truly believe that two things can in fact be true. I think that it is possible that somebody is horrible, awful, and done some horrible, awful shit. And I think it's possible that black men get treated a whole lot worse. Black women get treated even worse by this judicial system. And I think, and by even worse, I mean, we're not guilty of a lot of these things, or many of us haven't been shown as guilty of a lot of these things these men are going through. But when it comes to a whole lot of other things that we need to lean on the judicial system for support for, we don't get it. Y'all, thank y'all for coming in and hanging out. Oh my goodness. You know what? I have got Shanita. I have got to plug. I have a copy of her book, but I do not have it here with me. I am going to make sure I put the link in the description box. I just saw my sister friend from Detroit, Shanita Foster, show up. She has a book called Pivot. Shanita, I started thumbing through it. I need your help because, you guys, my book, Nicci versus Goliath, A Creator's Fight for Judicial. I'm sorry. I changed the title, the subtitle, so I'm not going to repeat it. But Nicci versus Goliath. It's all about my fight for equal rights as a creative. Okay, so Lauren, let me ask you, do you think that the entertainment industry can recover? I'm sorry, did I answer that full question? I think I did. Definitely, I'm not questioning that. Absolutely. Do you think that based on Lauren, who is super smart, Meech, who is super smart, has been working on a really amazing project centered around Black women in media, the narratives, the trauma. Do you think that this is an opening for us to expose all of the terrible stuff that's happening out here and for Black women, allies of Black women, women of color to come to the table and really leverage this opportunity to do it right? Or do you think that this is just an opportunity for the people who have always felt like Hollywood was full of debauchery and terrible shit to close the door on it and basically shut it down, especially now that AI seems to be taking over everything? It's like, what we need them niggas for. What are your thoughts?
Well, um, okay. So the first part of your question, as far as Black women go, and I touched on this briefly, and I know we were going to have a more in-depth conversation surrounding this subject matter, but when we come together as Black women, we definitely can do a lot more together than we can apart. Now, in this era that we are currently in within Hollywood, there are people that are taking on the work to change the narrative of how we are seen in the entertainment industry, which reaches billions of viewers worldwide. So you have producers and showrunners and actresses that have gone behind the camera and directing and writing and producing, that are helping to change the narrative. But at the same time, until you have diversity within those seats of the head of the production, like the head of the major studios, the ones that make the decisions on who is greenlighting what projects. Until you have more diversity in those positions, it's still, even though you have these women that are, and there are some men too, but even though you have these people of color that are working to make the changes within the industry itself, they're still fighting tooth and nail to help change the narrative. There needs to be more people that are at these powerhouse studios that are able to make the difference. And one of the things that Meech said that I just want to touch on, which is based upon the history and how Black men in particular are seen as these over sexualized beings. If you look at the film industry as a whole, you go back to the first blockbuster of the entertainment industry, which is this black and white film with no sound. It's called Birth of a Nation, where there is a Caucasian man who is in blackface, who was made out to be a predator and a sexual being, who chased this Caucasian woman around so that he could R word her, and she jumped off a cliff and threw herself to her death because she didn't want to be touched by this man. Mind you, this is something that has stood throughout history. This film is still taught in film classes. I have taken, I don't know how many times this film has been mentioned in my classes, in my coursework that I have taken over the years studying this industry. But that is a pinnacle film within the industry to say, this was the standard that was set. It was considered to be the first blockbuster movie before that was even a phrase. So when you start off saying that these people are this way, that is the narrative that continues throughout time to say that we're going to keep using this particular stereotype of Black men and keep on that trajectory that they are criminals, that they rob people, they kill people, they want to take your women, they're going to kill, unalive your children, all of that type of stuff. So while there has been things over time that have helped change the narrative, and within the last 5 to 10 years, it has vastly improved for Black women because there are so many more Black women that are behind the scenes it's still not enough as of yet.
What's really interesting is that we've had so many situations. I'm sorry, I reloaded my Instagram. You guys, resetting the room. We are live on WIRF dot TV, YouTube. We're not gonna turn this into a 2-hour live. We are at an hour and 30 minutes, so we're gonna wrap this thing up shortly. But please make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. Like it as you come in the room, so YouTube knows that we're interested and this is good information. EXO says, yes, this makes me think of when Lady Mae took over the church in Greenleaf, empowered blacks to uproot fear and replace it with love. Hands down, I've said it over and over again. When it comes to the black community and who cares about us and who's going to have our back and who's going to show up for us, we know mama, grandma, auntie, sister, cousin, black women show up all the time. We show up at the box office. We show up in the protests. We show up buying products and helping black women elevate their brands. We are going to have a really important show. And we were actually going to do it this week, but because we're preparing, shout out. Oh, let me do a little bit of housekeeping real quick, you guys. We are really excited to be performing this coming weekend in Cleveland and Detroit. So if you have not already, please make sure you get your tickets. I'm so excited about this incredible experience with Brownstone and how we've elevated the brand and how we've been able to really like take it to the next level. So you guys make sure that you support R&B, support great music. But I think it's so important for us to really talk about whether or not black women fear, right? I went on a little bit of a rant yesterday. You can check that video out. Do black women fear? Do we fear showing up for each other? Do we fear leveraging and this is a serious question, you guys. Do black women fear leveraging our power? I was listening to the earnings call of a streaming platform that I will not name, but y'all can just imagine which one I was listening to. And I was like, Jesus. And when you find out that the largest percent of viewers that they have, largest percentage of viewers that most of these networks and platforms have are women of color, black women. We put so much into everybody else's pocket. We give so much to other companies. We give so much of ourselves as far as viewership goes, as far as our talents and our gifts, and we're always hired to do something. It's really interesting. I saw another article today where 2 streaming platforms are going to partner with a major black women focused magazine that has become a festival and done all this other stuff. And then Ebony, I'm gonna say it. Essence is partnering with 2 platforms. I think those platforms are run by brothers, which is not a problem because they brothers. But how dope would it be if Essence partnered with platforms that were owned by women? Why that doesn't happen? Because not enough of us have it and we own it. And that is what I want to unpack in our conversation. What is it, my sisters, about us that we fear or we're just not interested in or we don't believe is possible for us to come together, bring together our resources, bring together our fan bases, bring together our gifts and our talents? Again, I know it sounds like I'm like campaigning for myself or campaigning for WIRF.TV, and I am to a degree because we got some dope shit happening over here. We just haven't been able to build it as quickly as we would like to, but it's not about who builds it fast. It's about who builds it best. But whoever it is, I want to see women supporting other women. It's not to say that I'm being shady at the announcement that Essence is going to partner with, a couple of platforms that are probably, I don't know for sure, but in all likelihood run by men. And also Ebony just did a fast channel with like Lionsgate and Stars. And I'm like, and I'm not saying that because I'm like, oh, you did something with Lionsgate and Stars, because I don't expect everybody to have an issue with them because I do. But what I am concerned about is how we undervalue our contributions to entertainment and media. And the reason is I'm so hyper focused on us talking about what happens in entertainment and media is because that, you guys, this YouTube thing, Instagram, social media, these platforms, these outlets, media is the most powerful tool in the universe. That's simple. Media. It changes how we buy, how we take care of ourselves, how we address issues of wellness and wealth. Media is everything, and we don't own enough of it. We're good enough to build it. We're good enough to build billion-dollar brands, but we are not good enough to be considered partners and owners in those brands. So, you guys, we are getting to the end of this here live. Please do me the kind favor of looking at it from the beginning, because my open letter is there. If you haven't seen it already, please take a look at it. Let me look at our channel and see if we have any more. Eric Butner says, hello, good evening. Hi, Eric. I don't want black. I'm sorry. Okay. EXO says, I don't think black women fear leveraging their power. I think greater allyship and community with black men will amplify and elevate that power. This will require black men to fellowship more intimately with each other and respectfully illuminating black men's blind spots. Hold on. We ain't had no DJ horns. We ain't had no bada bada bing. We ain't had no applause. We ain't had none of the things. Baby, you get them all tonight. You get them all tonight. And that sounds like a really good place to wrap this long-winded ass live up. Once again, I'm going to repeat from the words of a very loyal, I just really enjoy you contributing to these conversations, EXO. No, I do not think that black women fear leveraging their power. I think greater allyship and community with black men will amplify and elevate that power. This will require black men to fellowship more intimately with each other and respectfully illuminating black men's blind spots. Let's work together. I know that when I speak about unity and I speak about us coming together, a lot of times I amplify women doing that because, again, we are the number one consumers. How they do it in the little YouTube thing? Number one consumers of this content. If we could come together, sisters, and lean on each other and love on each other and let go of all the animosity. I say all the time, R&B Diva should be in season 20. There's no reason why we've let 13 years, about to be 14 years, go by, and there has not been a new season of this incredible franchise that was built on so much love and greatness and talent. The only reason we don't have it is because we as women connected to that franchise have not been able to put whatever it is that we've been dealing with from 13, 14 years ago to the side and focus on, like he said here about black men, illuminating our blind spots and really showing up for each other. So I encourage, thank you guys on Instagram. Thank you guys on YouTube. I'm going to bring my guests back so we can say goodnight to them. But I encourage everyone to join the conversation that we will dig a lot deeper into this subject because it's super important. And I'd like to bring some experts up to kind of help us unpack and really talk about what it is, because how we can be responsible for making other people billions, not millions, you guys. We have $1 trillion in buying power collectively. And we are the sauce, as I've said a million times. Why can we not redirect that buying power, that viewership, that good energy, that talent, those gifts to a central location where people can get the best of all of us? That's it. I see so many people, especially a lot of the housewives, and we were going to get into that, but we'll get into that tomorrow. But I see a lot of people getting YouTube channels, and I see a lot of people launching their own independent stuff. And that's all great. Yeah, you could take your 100 million, 1,000, trillion followers and just focus solely on yourself. or we can spread the love. And I've been seeing that in the YouTube community a lot. I see a lot of YouTubers sharing their space, just like Meech has his own Dish and Tea with Big Meech channel. Lauren has her own channel. Funky Deneve, I've been on his channel. We've been on Tori Hart's channel. When we all come together, we have a great opportunity to build something fantastic. And I think that that will ultimately help us change the narrative from all of this destructive ex trafficking and domestic violence and all of those other things. And we will actually be able to change the world, or at least the Black community, I would say. So, Meech, Lauren, I am so grateful for y'all. Please tell the people real quick where they can find you. And of course, other than tomorrow night on Nights with Nicci, what you got going on. Meech, you got something special going on in College Park. Tell the people what you're doing.
Yes. For those of you who do not know, here in College Park, Georgia, which is where the airport is of Atlanta, I am running for city council. I'm for Ward 2, which is the ward I live in. And that's our entertainment hospitality ward. So, darling, this here is going to be a fight because the incumbent is a seasoned politician. I'm just a concerned citizen with a big mouth. So, yeah, I have that going on. And in addition to some other things that we're doing with WTEA Radio, which is my new radio station, housing Dishing Tea with Big Meats, the radio show. And so if you want to find out everything about me, honey, go to the main page, which is www.dishingtea.com, because it's all about the tea, baby.
L Boogie?
Um, you can check me out. LB Productions is my YouTube channel, my podcast, my website, lbproductions.com. I'm working on some writing, and once we get Worth TV streaming platform back up and running, I'll be there working on producing all of the fabulous ideas that we have been working on for the last couple of years. And I'm just like, I'm really ready to start getting to work on these things because they're so great. So I've been doing some writing, and I'm looking forward to getting back into it for the Worth TV streaming platform, to bring you all this great shows that and movies that we have planned in the works. So it's coming. It's just delayed, not denied, but we'll be working on those. So I'm looking forward to that.
I love it. Delayed and not denied. Last comment. Well, first of all, thank you, Debbie. I saw your comment. She said, and she knows the conversation. She's coming in great. She knows that the conversation was great tonight. 85 Music Lover says, would you go on Sean Stockman's podcast? If I'm not mistaken, he wrote the song in the second. What? Are you kidding me? I love Sean. Sean from Boyz II Men? Absolutely. 100% I would go on his podcast. And we will be having a new season. Speaking of what Lauren was just talking about, we will be having a new season of Diary of a Diva, which we will be working on in delivering for you guys sooner rather than later. It'll actually start towards the end of the summer, kind of going into the fall, honey, going into the fall and the end of the summer. You feel me? So I want to say that thank you. First of all, yes, you guys, the audience absolutely loves Meech, and they absolutely love Lauren. So let's give a round of applause for our co-hosts. They did a fantastic, amazing job. And yeah, I have taken a little bit of time away from some of my creative endeavors. It's interesting because a lot of people be like, girl, why don't you just go on ahead? My phone is blowing up. Why don't you just go on ahead and focus on some new stuff and leave that P-Valley stuff alone? And I will say, first of all, I want you guys to watch the open letter. Make sure you tune into that, and make sure you subscribe to my Substack, because I do have a Substack that I'm really geeked up about. I'm starting to do a lot more writing. We have a lot of stuff in the can. I just want to respond to this real quick. Gregory Harrison says, if Diddy goes to jail, the world is going to party. Yeah, I would imagine. But, based on what I've been hearing, it's kind of divided. Some folks don't feel like there's enough for Rico, And some folks don't feel like there's enough for the trafficking stuff, but I guess we'll be finding out sooner rather than later. I don't think honestly, I don't think that it's a reason to celebrate or a reason for the world to party. I feel what you're saying, and you're probably right. But I don't agree that we should ever celebrate the downfall of a black man who has made so much progress in our communities. And I'm not saying that because it's like they're always trying to take the black man down, because if you did it, don't do the crime if you can't do the time, right? But there are so many other aspects of this case that I thought we would get a chance to see. And I'd hoped that we would be able to have unpacked a little bit more. I don't think he did it by himself. I don't think that he was the only person involved in any of this. I don't know if he's just, not bringing other people because there's nothing for them to say. Like somebody said earlier, maybe they think that they may perjure themselves. I don't know what's happening, but I do not celebrate the downfall of R. Kelly. I don't celebrate the downfall of Bill Cosby. I don't celebrate the downfall of Tory Lanez, of Diddy, of Fat Joe, of Tyler, of anybody. I don't celebrate the downfall of anybody from our community, because even if they did something horrible, right? The whole point of going to prison or going to jail is so that people can be rehabilitated and so that people can change. If God, I have a problem with this one, but they say no one sin is greater than another. And if that is indeed true, who are we to judge? If God is saying no one sin is greater than another, who are we to judge? Now, I disagree in my spiritual human space, because I think there's a difference in telling a lie and doing something terrible to somebody like the M word or the X word or the R word. I think a little white lie and the R word are on opposite ends of the spectrum here. But hey, I see your daddy always let you in, so as a sign for me to wrap my show up. My husband think he's so slick, because he going to be in here farting and snoring and all that other stuff. But it is time for me to go. It is time to wrap this thing up. I'm so grateful, you guys. I know I'm long-winded. My friends are super smart. Please make sure that you hit the like, share, and subscribe button. I am your host, Nicci Gilbert Daniels. And y'all need to go on ahead and give me a round of applause, because I have been consistent. We said weeknights at 10 o'clock, and even though this shit ain't been happening at 10 o'clock, closer to 10:45 or 11, I've been showing up. So please, you guys, it's a new channel. It's a lot of great information, and we really appreciate you guys. Go back and look at some of those old videos. Thank you, Meech. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you to all of our folks in the chat. Again, the Cash App is in there. Make sure you hit like, share, and subscribe, and share this video, please. The only way we're going to change things is if we have real conversations about solutions. And activate. Proactive, not reactive. Thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Nights with Nicci. Boop, boop. I am Nicci Gilbert Daniels, and this is my dog Kato, about to irritate the hell out of me. I love you guys. Have a good night. Peace.